Hey, what's up guys, welcome to today's YouTube video, and today I'm going to be showcasing you guys the top 3 decks in my opinion that are competitive for the current metagame under $100. So the reason why I decided to make this video is because if you're a new player or if you're a returning player, you'll find out very quickly that Yu-Gi-Oh is a very expensive hobby, and you'll quickly realize that you're going to have to shell out quite a bit of money in order to compete with like the current meta. But that's why what I decided to do was go and start off with a challenge where I have a budget constraint of $100 and to create the most competitive deck possible in order to compete with the current metagame. So without further ado guys, I'm really excited to showcase you this list, and please, if you do end up buying these decks, please consider using my TCG affiliate code right in the description box below. It will help me, it will support me greatly, and it will also be free of charge to you guys. So thank you so much for all your support, and without further ado guys, we'll jump right into it. Deck number 1. So this deck actually is around $80, believe it or not, and this is a very strong deck in order to compete in the current metagame. You have right here 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Veilers, very reasonable hand traps in terms of cost. Ash are still relatively expensive. I think like they're around $9 to $10, but for the most part, like these are like the hand trap count that I really like. So if you were to just not play Ash in order to like save some even more money and make this like an under $50 deck, you can actually just play like Crow, which is also a very strong option as well. But in terms of like the Shaddoll lineup itself, right, like these came from the structure deck, which is why like this is a very good deck to consider building if you're a new player. It's a very strong deck by itself too. So first we have Ariel. Ariel is a very strong card. It has the ability to DD Crow your opponent for up to 3 times. Or what that effectively means that in a format where the graveyard is heavily reliant on, for example, the Ulik deck, which relies on its graveyard recursion, Shaddoll Ariel is very strong. Like I've DD Crow'd my opponent's Golden Lord, all of them actually through Ariel, and just won the game just from that itself. And so this is a very strong card to compete in the current metagame. Next, I play the Trick Clown engine. I play 1 Juggler and then 2 Clown. I like the Clown because if you hard draw the Clown, you can just fuse it within your hand and then get an extra body. And the extra body can just help push for damage. So I really like the Clown package, and they're always like free to like send off of like Shaddoll fusion. Then you play 3 Shaddoll Wendy. I think this is like the best card in the Shaddoll deck, to be honest. Like this card is so insane, being able to tutor out any of your Shaddoll monsters in face down defense modes, which lets you trigger out their flip effects. But also like Wendy is just like very powerful because it actually plays around there can only be 1. It's a psychic, while most of the other Shaddoll cards are actually spellcasters. So being psychic monsters lets you play around floodgates as well. And it's, like I said before, a very powerful card. Now you have the 2 Beasts. I like the 2 Beasts because if you hard draw 1, you can summon the other one off of Wendy. That's like the main reason why I play Beast. Beast is very powerful. Being able to draw 2 cards and then discard 1 to trigger any of your Shaddoll cards is really nice. And whenever you do use it and send it to the graveyard, you can get a free upstart. So can't really complain about Beast. Then you play the 1-of Dragon. I like the 1-of Dragon just because it lets you, out like back row decks. Altergeist is definitely prevalent in the metagame, and being able to out the back row with Shaddoll Dragon is very powerful. Then you have Shaddoll Falco. I like playing this card at 2 just because Shaddoll Falco gives you a lot of recursion in the deck. Being able to reset your, Wendy, reset your Beast, reset your Ariels, and lets you constantly recur your resources is very strong. So I really like Falco for that. Next, I play 1 of the Hedgehog. Hedgehog is really strong. Being able to add any Shaddoll spell or trap is really nice. Then I play 3 Squamata. Squamata is really nice because it is essentially effectively a tutor for any of your Shaddoll cards in the deck. And it can also dump Shaddoll spells and traps as well. So that makes it actually very powerful and a lot stronger than it seems. Then you play triple Cosmic Cyclone. I like Cosmic Cyclone just because trap decks are in the current metagame. Elec is in the metagame, so Cosmic is really nice. Being able to hit against the Guru cards, against the Geist cards, and the Elec cards is very powerful. So I don't really see an issue not maining this card. It's really nice. Outs a lot of cards, and I can't really complain. Then you have 3 Shaddoll Fusion and 3 El Shaddoll. Not much to say about this. These are like your power cards. Being able to resolve these cards, especially when your opponent has an extra deck monster, is very strong. Then you play triple Dino Mishes. So Dino Mishes is a really wonderful card. I like the fact that it can banish the opponent's Golden Lore and then trigger your Shaddoll monsters effects, which is really strong for that. The reason why these triggers your Shaddoll monsters is because they don't discard for cost. Shaddoll cards only trigger if they're discarded by card effect, not cost. So that's a very distinct ruling thing that you should know if you do decide to pick up this deck. The next thing that I have is to double Reshadol Incarnation. They're technically searchable, but I like having two because if you hard draw one, your opponent don't really expect it, and being able to recur back your resource, like I said, with Reshadol is really, really powerful. It can also summon back your Wendy, making you have a Floodgate, but it can also summon back App Clone from the graveyard, which lets you get an Omni Negate. So that's, or like it says a targeting negate, which is really, really powerful for that. And then of course you have 3 Torrential Tribute, a staple trap card that I really, really like. To being able to like blow up the opponent's board is like super insane. I can't really say much more about this. Also, Torrential Tribute trigger off your Shaddoll monsters, which makes it very, very strong for that reason as well. Like being able to go T set with Torrential Tribute and a Shaddoll card is really powerful. In terms of the extra deck, you have 2 App Clone. I really like this card. I played this card at 2 just because you'll probably be making a lot more often than a non-peer Shaddoll variant. Triple Construct just because you can send any card with Construct. Double Winda just because it comes up to summon the second one. The Cross Sheep just because it can reborn back any level 4 or lower monster, so it's really powerful for that. You have the Nightmare Phoenix and the Unicorn for utility purposes. You have Link Cerebral, just in case you need to, like, if you're playing against like the Dinosaur deck, Lost, you can like out the Lost World token with Link Cerebral. Proxef Magician, which is like really, really powerful. It's essentially a fusion. It has a polymerization effect in a Link monster, so that's really good for this deck. It's also very cheap because it's a common in Eternity Code. Not a lot of people actually know about this card. The Selene, just because you have a bunch of spellcasters, just lets you help push. Then you have Gravity Controller because you can link off the Construct, the Wendy, or the Winda, or the App Clone in the extra monster zone to out like really annoying cards. And then Shaddoll Construct. This card is really, really powerful. Not a lot of people actually know about this card, but you can actually recur this card when it's in the graveyard. You can send any Shaddoll card from your hand or graveyard and then special summon it and then trigger your Shaddoll card. But also because it's a light monster, so like if you're short on lights, you can actually get to a light monster with Shaddoll Construct, and being able to like fusion summon using its effect is really, really strong as well. But that's pretty much it, guys, for the deck. I really hope you guys test this deck out. Let me know how it goes for you, and if you decide after testing, definitely go give it a shot and buy it. Like I said before, check out the TCG player link check out my TCG player link in the description box below, and definitely give this deck a buy. If you guys want to know the total cost of the deck, I'm going to be showcasing you guys this right now. Alright guys, so I'm on this website called Yugioh Pro Deck, and Yugioh Pro Deck actually helped me calculate the price of the entire deck that I just built. So this deck that you just saw on Dueling Book is actually the same deck that that's uploaded here, and you'll see that the total is $78. So like I said before, guys, just, on TCG, if you were to buy all this on TCG Player right here, right now, it would only be $78, which is like relatively a decent price to like be able to enter the game in. Of course, you don't have your side deck, but like I said before, this leaves you $22 to like, you know, invest into some side deck cards, some staples, and then hopefully, like, you know, as you continue to save and progress even further, you will get more and more cards and staples, so that essentially what you'll be buying is now cores. But if you're a completely new player and you have no Yu-Gi-Oh cards at all, this is still a very good option to be under $100. Guys, I'm gonna now showcase you guys deck number 2. This here is Altergeist, but obviously a very much more budget version of the deck. I'm going to walk you guys through the deck profile and explain to you guys my card choice for this budget variant of Altergeist, which is a very, very strong deck in itself. You played a 1 of Concrete. It's pretty much, these are the standard Altergeist ratio. Not much to say about Concrete. Being able to negate an attack and negate a card on the field is very strong. Marionetta, just because it's a wonderful starter to normal summon. The 3 Meluseek, just because it gets you tutor to any of your Altergeist monsters. And then also going second, this card outs a lot of like really annoying cards. Also outing back row is really strong. Then you play the triple multi-faker. Triple multi-faker, ever since it left, is really, very powerful. Left the ban list. And you have played 19 traps. So if you draw faker, you're most likely going to be able to at least try to resolve it or resolve a trap. He plays double soliloquist just because you want to summon it off faker if you hard draw 1. Then you play the hand trap count, which is triple Veiler, triple Ash. Unfortunately, you can't play Impermanence in a more budget deck, but I think Veiler is a decent substitute. You won't get Faker Imperm, but to be honest, the odds of you seeing Faker and Imperm in the same hand is about 10%, so it doesn't really change much except for that 10% chance where you can resolve Faker on your opponent's turn. Next, you play Triple Duality. I really like this card as a consistency card. It's essentially like an upstart almost. It makes your deck kind of like 37 because Duality lets you see like 3 extra cards, and then you kind of like get to choose what you want to add off that. Then you get I play 1 Manifestation and 2 Protocol, just because I think Protocol is more important than Manifestation in this format, where the format is a lot faster. double compulse, being able to compulse your opponent's normal summon is really strong, especially against the Admaster Praetor deck, where if they, for example, you can compulse their normal summon, and it stops them from extending with Seeker or Researcher. If they have the Analyzer, that's obviously very strong as well, but at the end of the day, having like a double compulse with Silk and compulse evacuation device is very, very powerful. Triple smoothing just for the consistency, triple solemn, triple strike. Thankfully, Solemn Judgment did actually get a super rare reprint, so that makes it a very cheap option now. And you do have Solemn Strike as well, which is I think also comes out in super rare, so that's awesome. Then you play 3 Torrential Tribute, a very powerful card in Alts, guys. Being able to Torrential Tribute your opponent and then resolve Multi-Faker is absolutely insane. And of course, one of my favorite cards that I actually won in December with is actually Crackdown. Crackdown is a wonderful card. Being able to take your opponent's cards, like for example, like their Block Dragon, is really, really nice, just so that they can't send it to the graveyard, kind of like what you used to do with Master Plan, so like they couldn't link it off, so they don't get a +3. So Crackdown is really, really powerful. I really, really like this card, and being able to take your opponent's monster, like I said before, is like super insane. Now in terms of the extra deck, you'll notice that like I cut the extra deck just because like we were tight in like $100 budget, that I cut it to like the bare bones minimum. I would say 3 Hexia, Kadolga, Banshee, Almirage, Karibo, and Selene is all you really need. Especially if you don't have Extravagance, you can play one-ofs of like the Karibo and the Almirage. The Almirage is for the Silk, and then the Link Karibo is for the Melustique. The Selene is just Selene. It's all your cards are spellcasters, so it can revive back cards to help you extend and push for damage. But this is pretty much it, guys, for like the budget variant of Alter, guys. I think this is a very a dope list for under $100, and a deck that you can actually take to locals and probably like win with it, to be honest with you. But so this is in terms of like the price, I'll be showing you guys the price of this deck in just a few moments. All right, guys, you'll see that the price of this deck right here is actually $77. You'll see that the main deck 40 cards is the exact same that I showed you guys on Dueling Book, and then the extra cards is like pretty much the same 7. The only thing I didn't include is Selene, because it is optional. The whole idea with Selene was to also play Access Code Intake, so you don't have to play it. But now this leaves you with $23 to kind of like expend whatever you need in terms of like to fill up the rest of your extra deck with, like for example, the Nightmare Engine, like Phoenix or Mermaid, depending on like utility. But to be honest, I would say this is like all you really need. Like also, guys, without like the Extravagance, can actually just win without like these extra deck cards. Like if you've noticed, when you play Extravagance in Altergeist, right, like there are times where you resolve Extravagance twice and you still win anyways, just because the deck is very strong at controlling the game state, and very, very strong at just like, you know, maintaining like getting a lot of resources while depriving your opponents of a lot of resources. So overall, I think Geist is a very, very awesome list to consider picking up if you're new to the game, and also like a deck that I highly consider. If you've watched my like top 5 decks that you should consider picking up if you're a beginner, this is definitely one of them. It's a deck that like if you like pick up, it will definitely improve your technical play and make you stronger as a player. So I highly recommend this deck for anyone interested in trying to learn the game or coming back. Alright, guys, I'm going to show you case you guys now deck number 3, Necroz. So Necroz is an amazing deck, and I think that when Unicorn came back to 3, this deck definitely got a power boost. I really like this deck. It's very, very strong, and it's just like unexpected, almost like the deck can, you know, like Unicorn is such an oppressive card, and to be honest, it going second, if you can just summon Unicorn, you pretty much like negate your opponent's entire field, because most of like the negation in today's metagame is all from the extra deck, right? Especially if you look at the Admaster Praetor board or any of these other boards, like they can't really out the Unicorn. Like it just negates everything. So like for example, if you activate Cycle and they don't negate it and you summon Unicorn, it negates their Borlo Savage, it negates their Appaloosa, it negates pretty much everything. And then after there, you can like start breaking board with Trishula, which Trishula can then banish the Block Dragon. So this deck is very, very strong for sure, and it's very good at going first or second just because of Necroz of Trishula. But anyways, guys, I'll show you guys now the deck profile. So we have Incantation, Bookstone, Double Candle, Double Plume, Double Mandra. So I like I only play 3 of the spell ones. So what I mean by the spell ones are Bookstone and Candle add back spells or add you a spell, and then I maximize on I play more of the Plume and then Mandra. You don't want to ever play 3 of these cards or 1 of 3s of any of these, because you don't want to actually open up Mandra, or you don't want to open up Plume. You want to open up the Candle or the Bookstone, because most of the time recurring your you know, ritual monster or adding a ritual monster is more important. And so that's like pretty much why you play like, I think, this ratio. Technically you can cut 1 Candle and play 1 1 2 2, but for the sake of just consistency, I'm playing 1 2 2 2. Also, this is really important because it synergizes really well with Zaborg, and I'll explain that to you guys pretty soon. You then play 3 Manju. This is just a consistency card, not much to say. You play Shirt, which is a wonderful card to use to tribute summon or use as tribute fodder for your Necros. And then you play triple Zaborg. Zaborg is really, really nice, especially in like a rogue deck because it lets you out, I guess, floodgates. For example, if you're under like Imperial Order, Zaborg is like your only out, especially because this deck struggles against those. And so I considered cards like, what are some cards that can help you, like, you know, counter some of like anti-spell vagrants, etc., etc. So Zaborg is a wonderful card for that because Zaborg, when it resolves, can actually send Intis, and Intis can destroy cards on the field. So you can like pop up to like, you know, like 2 back row and then trigger like 3 heralds, and you just go really, really plus off the Zaborgs, and it's really, really powerful for that. You play the 1 of Ben 10 because it helps you search your Manju, which is even more consistency card. Then you play the double Chalice Slime. Just for consistency, this searches you any incantation monster or summon any of your incantation monsters, and then that essentially means that the Chalice Slime replaces any card in your deck. You then play the 1 of the incantation Inception. This is really nice because if you have like it lets the graveyard effect is really powerful. Like this card actually lets you go like +2 sometimes. Like Inception sends a card to the graveyard, add it back to your hand, and summon another incantation monster, and then that incantation monster searches you another card. So Inception is really, really powerful, and you can always obviously use it to like link, or I'm sorry, not linked, ritual summon any of your ritual monsters. For example, if you have like a Mandra and a if you have a Talus Mandra and then you have a Pentaplume on the field, you can actually use Inception to use both of them as material to summon Trishula. So the spell itself is also relevant because it can be used to substitute for any ritual monster. Then you play triple Brionic. Brionic is a or triple Brio. Brio is wonderful. Brio is a consistency card. It searches you any of your Necros cards, so there's not much to say about that. Klaus is nice at 2 just because it searches you any of your Necros spells. 1 Gungnir just because it prevents your you kind of play Protect the Tower and protects your Unicorn from getting destroyed by battle or card effect, which is wonderful. Then you have the Necros of Trishula. Trishula is really, really strong. Just like I said before, for first of all, to negate targeting effects targeting your Unicorn, but then secondly to banish your opponent's cards, kind of like what the Synchro Trishula does. So it's really strong for that. The Valkyries is really powerful just because sometimes if you don't hard draw the Zaborg, the Valkyries actually lets you get to Zaborg because Valkyries lets you draw 2 cards with the incantation monsters. Because generally what you're going to do is when you reveal, like, let's say like a Kandal, you'll summon Kandal and like a Mandra to search your monsters. And then when you make Valkyries, you contribute the Kandal and then the Mandra to draw 2 more cards. And then that, like, you'll constantly see more and more cards, and then that will help you get to Zaborg actually, which is very powerful to resolve, but also like gets you access to powerful recovery plays like Prep. Then you play triple Unicorn just because it lets you recur so much of your resources, and this was something that the deck was definitely missing, and it's definitely glad to see that this card is back. But also you play 3 because you kind of want to hard draw Unicorn because it's really powerful hard drawing Unicorn going second because you don't have to waste like a Brionic effect, which will probably get negated by Appaloosa. So to like search the core. So if you have the core hard drawn, you can then use any of your spells to kind of like just summon core and then negate the field and then keep pressing from there. I like the ratio of 2-2-2. It's just like decent in the grind game, and then you just play the 3 prep, which is like the most insane recovery card in the entire deck. In terms of the extra deck, I play 2 Intis, the Sigma, just because if you do play Ash Blossom, you can actually summon this card. To be honest, any level 12 works, but I think Sigma is one of the cards you can actually potentially summon, so I considered this card really highly. Then you play Leo, which is level 10. The reason why I only did 10 and 12 is because those are the most common levels that you would summon off of scope, because what I mean by that is, like, sometimes you're going to summon Core and Brio, which is really powerful because you negate all the extra deck monsters and then bounce 2 of them with Brio. And then the Sigma is double Brio. You can also do Unicorn plus Valkyries. Or you can do a Klaus plus Trishula. So those are like kind of like the levels. So like 12 is like definitely mandatory, and then 10 is definitely I would say mandatory as well, because you can get Klaus plus Gungnir, or you can get Unicorn plus Brio. So that's really powerful. Unicorn plus Brio comes up quite a lot, so that's why I play this. I don't play in other levels such as 11 because 11 is like a really awkward number. 11 is only for like Valkyries and like Klaus, and like you don't really do that most of the time, and like you sometimes maybe you go Unicorn and Gungnir, but like you don't even want to summon the Gungnir most of the time, so that's like my thing. And then of course you play triple Herald to send off of scope to summon Core, which is like so insane. Then Herald searches you any card in your deck, so it's just wonderful. Abyss Roller is really insane because you can make it with Core and Manju, and it gains 500 attack because it has Core as a material. You play Yugioh Emerald to help your recovery plays. You play the Dire Wolf because you can pop the Dire Wolf and a card on the opponent's field. Then you'll have no cards on the field to banish your Necross spells to search other Necross spells. And actually, it's not once per turn to do this. So this is really, really powerful for that. Then you play the Exton just as a good, nice board wipe. The Bagusa is a wonderful monster to summon, and it's really hard out, especially against like the Advanced Player deck. Like they can't really out the Bagusa, so it's really good for that. I guess they can make Cerberus as well, but if you summon it in the extra monster zone, which you definitely can in this deck, it's just like really, really hard for them to out. Then you have Tornado Dragon just for like the back row decks. And the last two cards, I would probably play Totally, but just due to like the budget constraint and like some of these cards being quite expensive, like Omega and Totally, I didn't include them in there. But you can definitely play those cards too because they synergize really well with the Borg. And without further ado, guys, I'm going to be showcasing the price of this deck. As you can see, this deck is $100 or $99.94 on the dot. You'll see that most of the reason why this card is like so expensive is because a lot of the Necross cards are definitely getting slowly bought off for like the Dragma engine that's like slowly coming out, and people are expecting to play Dragma Necross. So I highly recommend you guys pick up this deck as soon as possible, just because like they might get even more expensive, but thankfully because of dual power they got a reprint. Without further ado, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed these 3 decks that I listed below, I'll have the decks in the description box below so you can easily download them on Dueling Book to test before you make the purchase if you decide to. Without further ado, guys, thank you so much again for all your support. If you enjoy videos like these, please comment in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts on the list that I have presented.